Right.
You know what I mean? Going live. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're live. Hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Thank you all for coming tonight. It's going to be a great show along with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for coming.
Howdy, howdy. We always say thank you and greetings and blessings to all, and we hope that you're doing as well as possible. So thank you for showing up tonight. Sit back, get some coffee, get get relaxed.
Yep. Pull up your favorite snack, put us on the big screen TV, and we're going to tell you some tales and find out some history. Tonight, I'm going to be doing the Pequots, the Pequot Indian War. As you can see in my background there, it looks like they're fighting. That's what they did. And how have you been? I'm sure everybody wants to know.
I've been getting by.
Good deal. Like to hear that. Everything's well. How are those blueberries coming? Did you ever have a frost, or did they finally come through?
Well, the wild blueberries just disappeared, which is interesting. But I've got 2 other blueberry bushes that just haven't. They got berries on them, but they're just not ripe yet. So we've always got our fingers crossed for the blueberries.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
We like our blueberries.
Who doesn't like some blueberries, where is this? Oh, well, you want to see what I did today. Here, we're gonna put this up. Okay. And I think I got that. Thought I had 2 of them. But I got 1. I wonder where that other one went to. Maybe it's still working. This will be good enough. There, I'll share with you my hard work of the day. I hope I can get this. Share sound, optimize for video clip, and share. Can you see that?
Not yet. It's coming up.
Oh, it is.
Okay, there you is.
All right, let's play this.
All right, I've been out here all day working really hard in the garden, and I got a lot accomplished. As you can see, I got my greenhouse all finished up. Put my plastic on, watered it. I planted radishes. I got each one of these hooked up. Getting ready to plant some good stuff. Gardening time is here. Well, I even got a little bit of sunburn. So anyway, with that, here that's a little bit. I'll show you the rest of it. Okay.
There you go. That's what I was doing. I got 2 of those things that I did.
Cold frames.
Yes, exactly. And there we go. Thought I had a second one, but I don't know if that actually went through. It was supposed to go through. I got my other part of the garden. But yeah, that's what I've been busy with. Where are my files? It says. Maybe that's what I got to click on. Oh, that is not the one. Thought I had 2 of them, but apparently I don't. Well, that's weird. Oh well, maybe I'll download it while we're doing our show, and then I'll be able to redo it. I don't know why it didn't come through, but I got a second one. Look at that! I finally got my notice for my show here. So YouTube, you're a little bit slow. Put it that way. But anyway.
All right.
Well, while I'm doing that, okay, I will get this done. Don't you worry. There we go. It's only a minute long, so we can do that. Anyway, there's Lucky. Raised garden, so fancy. Yes, And then so what I do with that raised garden is I just take that, like you said, that's a cold frame, and then I just take the plastic off later on when it gets too hot. But it will raise the temperature in there quite a lot just by some flimsy plastic. It warms that
Yeah.
soil up, makes the so that one I showed you, I got radishes planted in there, and I have lettuce. And so if it gets cold or something out, or the wind blows, that little bit of plastic it just does so much for it.
Yes, it does.
It's amazing how a little bit of plastic can go so far.
How much is a roll of plastic going for up there?
This stuff I had from last year, and I think it was like $15 for that roll.
Oh, wow.
But I bought it last year, so I bought 3 rolls, and it took like to do both of them. I took that one roll and a little bit of the other one. So, but they're all set and ready to go, and I guess it's well worth it. I'd rather have plants in the greenhouse than frozen one night, because they came up and it frosted and everything died. You know what I mean? But anyway, okay, I'm gonna move this over here. I'm gonna shrink that, and then I'm gonna put my picture up so we got something cool to look at. I tell you, I really like StreamYard better than Zoom. We got to start doing more shows on StreamYard.
And I got to learn how to do it.
Yeah, StreamYard. It's nice because you can record your show. You can show different screens. You got a background. You can see the chat right on the screen. Things like that. It's just really good. As you can see, here we got the pilgrims, and you got the Indians, and most likely these Indians were the Pequots. They inhabited the area of what is now like Connecticut. Let's see, they spoke Algonquin, whatever.
Yep, Algonquin.
Yes, my tongue gets tied. They were North Americans who lived in the Thames Valley, which is now Connecticut. Their subsistence was based on the cultivation of corn, hunting, and fishing. In the 1600s, their population was estimated to be about 2,200 individuals. Of course, it was really good back in the day, and they had quite the population going on, as all the Indians did. But as I was reading about them, it was so sad, because they were talking about the Indian plague, that plague that went around, was the smallpox. It just decimated those people. I mean, it's almost, hard to describe them. Here's where they lived in the area. You can see it's more along the coast, and just above New Jersey and connected to New York there. They were the people, they made a lot of the wampum that you see, because they were about the coastal Indians. So they had they would go down and get the shells, because wampum is made of shells.
Right.
And if I can find the picture of the Indian plague, I know I had a picture of the Indian plague somewhere, but anyway, they really anyway, I don't know where they came from. They were a breakaway tribe, as my studies found out. It was studying them. They were a breakaway tribe of maybe the Mohicans, or one of those closely tribes, but they were very warlike Indians. They were very warring. Their name would mean, in different ways, it would mean destroyers. They also called themselves a Mohegan, which is almost like the Mohicans. So there was 2 different tribes, and the the Pequot were jointly ruled by the Pequot chief Sassacus until a rebellion of his sub-chief Eutychus resulted in the Mohegan independence. For a period from 1620 onward, the Pequot and the British settlers lived side by side in mutual helpfulness and peaceful trade. Gradually, the Pequot's reinstatement swelled and increasing numbers of colonists encroached upon the tribes. Yes, this is where things went badly. You know, when they first landed, there was just a few white men. The Indians felt sorry for them or whatever. Nobody got killed or anything. Everything was good. But then disease came and more people came, and they started trapping all the food, you know, and things like, you know the story, how they trapped all the food and the fur trade was getting, and, you know, people, they wanted stuff. And the Indians, the only money thing they had was this wampum to trade and pelts. Now, of course, wampum was good until they flooded the market. Gradually, however, the Pequot resentment swelled and an increasing numbers of colonists encroached upon the tribe. Customary territory, the Pequots were concerned regarding the intrusions because their territory had already been reduced to the region between the Nagasset Bay and the Connecticut River. Now, these people kind of controlled the Connecticut River, which controlled the flow of trade, and therefore they had like a market on that. The Pequots eventually promised all tribal trade to the Dutch, of course, of action which resented by the British, yes, which ended up being in a war because the Pequots started raiding some of the British ships, and the people didn't take kindly to that, and they killed some prominent men, which just worried the colonists badly. Several incidents had taken place between the Pequot and the British colonizers. In the summer of 1636, matters came to a breaking point, and at that time, a Boston trader was murdered. I mean, it's all about one guy getting killed. That's it. Presumably by the Pequot on Block Island. A punitive expedition was sent by Massachusetts authorities to destroy native villages and crops, succeeded in only arousing the tribe to make more determined defense of their homeland. Puritan clergymen encouraged violence against the Pequot, whom they regarded as infidels. And the British colonists agreed to help take up arms.
Infidels. Oh my God.
Well,
They're
and
the ones that lived there, you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. They were really good when they were
trading. Natives, you know,
yeah,
and now all of a sudden they're the infidels. I'm just, holy crap.
Well, yeah, when the Pilgrims landed, they were like, oh, help us out. We don't have any food and things. And the Indians tried to help them out a little here and there, and they were being good people, and everybody was getting along. But then once you killed one of our guys or so, oh my gosh, then the story's on the other foot. It's like, now we need to go to war, you know.
So, and let me point something out. So they burn their crops, right?
Yep. So
now the natives are really pissed because now they don't have food or seed for the next year, you know, depending, especially if it's corn. That's probably, if they burned their crops, that's probably how they found popcorn. But anyway, that was a bad joke. But that just pissed the Indian off. So what are they going to do? They're going to retaliate. And now they're hungry. So whatever crops that the Pilgrims have, they're going to want to go and steal. So exactly. The burning the crops, you know, I can see a retaliation or something, but burning the crops just set up a situation that just snowballed, literally. You know, it would. Now we don't have food. Now we don't have this. Now where are we going to get them? Where we're going to go? Who did this to us? Well, they did. Okie dokie. And I'm sorry. I just
no, and you know, you're right. You're right. They started out with a little, you know, tit for tat because you're encroaching on our lands,
right?
And you're wanting more and more and more and more, and then, you know, you get, oh, he did this to me and he did that, blah blah blah. You know, the tit for tat.
Yeah.
But
But
then,
what they didn't, I don't think they understood at the time, is that burning the crop this year hurt them years down the road. And it not only hurt the Indians, but it hurt the settlers too. So that was I'm just pointing out that they have done this. The Vikings did it. Everybody that has ever conquered another place, you
Yep.
know, but what they haven't realized is that it takes them people 2 or 3 years to recover if they can, you know. And
Yep.
so it's like, so, but you've also created a situation where people aren't just pissed off for a couple of minutes. Now they're pissed off for years
yes.
because
And
they
then,
can't farm and they don't have seed and so forth.
yeah. Yeah.
So you've made a really bad enemy by burning crops.
Exactly. So these Puritans, Pilgrims, whatever, they assembled. They assembled a group of about 90 men. This was the turning point of a vicious 11-month war. So it was a tit for tat war. And this was fought for about a year between 1836 or 1636 and 1637. You know, it was against the English settlers around Massachusetts Bay. Anyway, so they followed. This was the big turning point. The Pequot War followed the Mystic campaign between May 10th and the 26th. In 1637, with Captain John Mason, led an English, Mohegan, and Nagasette warriors to attack the main fortified Pequot village. Remember, these people they were more village surrounding kind of people. You know, they fortified their stuff, put it that way. You know, they may have had houses that look like this, you know, but they also put up a fortress around it. They built a fort, believe it or not. Okay, but anyway, he marched those people. He got other Indians. The Nagasetts were against the Pequots. They didn't like them because, you know, the Pequots control everything. They were kind of in between, and they were kind of a vicious people. And they attacked the main fortified Pequot village on the site of modern day Mystic, Connecticut. The Pequots were surprised by quickly mounted a spirited defense and almost led to an English defeat. Realizing they could not defeat the Pequots because they'd only had like 90 guys in close quarters of the palisade, Mason, the captain, ordered their wigwams set afire. And, you know, if you can't beat them, destroy them, right? Some 400 Pequot men and women, children were burned, and maybe more than that. They said it was maybe up to 500. And they were burned alive or slaughtered when they tried to escape. So this was like a trap. They went into the fortified village, burnt their shacks down, you know, their wigwams here, because, you know, you can see this is bark. It's going to burn like really fast, you know, tinder.
And really hot.
Yeah, and considering it was May, they've been sitting there all winter. It's been all winter drying out. And which is not quite the good thing. They went in there, burned the place, and then ran out. And here's a good example of that. And they ran outside of the village and then shot them as they ran out. How's that for fun, huh? How horrible. You're trying to, they didn't care if they killed men, women, and children. They just killed them all. So either you stay in your village and burn to death, or you come running out and you get shot. And that was a huge turning point because, you know, these people, there was only a couple thousand of them, and now you're killing a quarter of their people. After the Pequots were defeated in this battle of the English withdrawal in the swamp fight, of course, these people lived in the swamps there. You know, most Pequot communities elected to abandon their country rather than continue a war against the English. Many who fled were killed or captured by other tribes or the English, and others were sold into slavery in New England or the West Indies. The remainder were distributed among the other tribes, where they received such harsh treatment that in 1655 they were placed under the direct control of the continental government and resettled on the Mystic River. The English claimed all of the Pequot territory by right of conquest. Wow. And early in the 21st century, population estimates of the Pequot people are now 3,000 descendants. Go figure that. Here's some cool pictures. Probably not the right pictures because they didn't live in these teepees, but you know, you can see how things go badly. Here's the sickness. This was another thing that knocked these people out, and it was the sickness. This is when the smallpox came through. Now, I read about this, and it was terrible. I mean, these people would get sick so fast, and it would be in the winter, right? And literally everybody got sick, and they couldn't go collect firewood. They couldn't get water, and nobody was there to take care of them because they were all literally sick. I mean, they would literally die where they were at because they would either freeze to death or they would not have any water to drink. And they said that the smallpox were so bad with these people that literally their skin was, you know, melting off of their bodies. And some of them would try to get water, and they would crawl out of their cabins or their wigwams there, whatever, and literally die in the yard because they were either too cold or too hot. I mean, you know, sick or whatever. They just died. You know, but like I said, here they were friendly with the people, you know, and the white men didn't come to help them at all. Some of the I read that some of the Indians that were working for the Pilgrims and lived in the villages with the colonists, they would go and try to help the Indians as best they could, like bring them water or some firewood, you know. What scared the white man the most is if you were captured, they would torture you. They would, you know, dismember you, burn you alive, you know, things like that. And once they did that to a few people, you know, maybe you did something wrong or whatever. But anyway, since you couldn't speak their language, they would just take you and then punish you because they thought it was right. And of course, once that word spread, everybody was terrified that the Indians were coming and they're going to kill us. You know, as you can see here, you know, it's these were some of the memes of the time, you know, and this is how they viewed them. It's pretty sad, isn't it? You know, that, you know, the Indians are coming, and you notice there's more white men than there are Indians here in this picture, and they're just pleading for their lives. You know, this is some, you know, when the Indians did capture men, they hacked off their arms and legs and, you know, and did horrible things to them. And then, of course, you know, that got passed around. And of course, when the white man captured the Indians, they did horrible things to them too. They strung them up. They cut their arms, their feet, their hands off. I mean, their noses, things like that. I mean, can you imagine? Here, they caught you and they're going to just chop your foot off, chop your hands off, and then set you free. Talk about torture. I mean, at this point, you know, that they did have guns. You know, the Pilgrims, the colonists, they had guns. The Indians did not really. They were still bows and arrows, knives, things like that. Here's a picture of what would be the colonists with their big guns. The guns, remember, the guns back in the day were so big and so heavy, you literally had to have a pole there to hold up the barrel. And you can see, Indians come, you whip out your sword, and he whips out a hatchet. Who's going to win? Yes, here's the thing. The Indian does something. Do not give the Indian liquor. Bad juju happens, boys and girls. The Indians also, because they knew that the colonists came on boats would attack the boats as they came ashore. There was one, famous battle where the colonists got together, came ashore on a boat, and the Indians, they shot arrows, and they did land, shot some of their guns into the forest as the Indians retreated, and never saw an Indian after that. Never lost anybody either. But as you can see, a club and a shield does not cut a guy in armor and with a gun. And you notice this gun has a
steel sword.
And a steel sword, yes. Just a hair better weapon. These Indian guys, they were brave as can be, but it didn't matter. If you're out weaponed, you're not going to make it. More modern day Pequot Indians. Here's some Pequots that, descendants.
And mostly women, though.
Yes, I guess so. At least there's some chiefs over here. Fetchums. Here's the territory, the Pequot territory. I think we did this picture already. That one. Okay. All right. But anyway, like I said, it was oh, here, I got this to share too. Anyway, we got the Pequot tribe. You guys can look this up. It's really good. It talks about here's about the disease. Between 1616 and 1619, disease, most likely smallpox, introduced by European contact, killed thousands of New England Algonquins. However, the Pequot and the Nagasets tribes escaped these epidemics and consequently became rivals for dominion of the Connecticut region. Yeah, so if your tribe didn't get decimated too badly, like we were talking about once before, 95% of people who got it died, or at least the Indians, which really would wipe out. The first meeting of the Pequot with the Europeans occurred in 1614 with the Dutch traders from the Hudson River Valley began expanding east along the northern shore of Long Island Sound between the Connecticut River. By 1622, the fur trade on the lower Connecticut River had grown enough that the Dutch established a permanent trading post near present-day Hartford. The intention was to trade with all of the tribes in the region, but the Pequot wanted to dominate the entire Dutch trade in that region. Yeah, they controlled the river, and along that river. Remember, they were the swamp people. The first attack, the Nagasets, who were powerful rivals, and the Pequot wanted to keep them from trading with the Dutch. The Pequots then strengthened their domain with the Dutch by making war with and subjugating the neighboring Numuck and the Mambepsic tribes. However, some Mambepsic chose to ignore them and tried to trade with the Dutch, forcing the Pequots to attack several groups of Mambepsic who gathered near the Dutch trading post for trade. Yeah, so anyway, then it goes on. The Pequots brought 104. Oh, yeah, the Dutch, somebody captured one of their Setchums, and the Pequots traded a huge amount of wampum to these people. That's when they realized that wampum was a trading material for them. And most of the rest is the Pequot War. And we went through all of that. So I ain't gonna go into that much. Anyway, and there we go.
And I would be curious as to what they meant by a huge amount of wampum.
140 wampum belts.
Well, that would have been a huge amount then.
Yeah, because remember that the wampum belts take a long time to put together. It ain't one of those things that you take. It takes a while to put a wampum belt together. Little bitty beads. Remember, this was before they were trading heavily with the English to get the beads and stuff like that.
Right.
So anyway. Anyway, we got Chloe's in the house. Max Vision Remote View class, Elderberry and Lucky Stone. Hang on a second. I think I gotta check somebody's here. Oh. Neighbors are home. Okay, my neighbors are home. Anyway, so yeah. What do we got tonight?
Oh, story wise.
Yes. What do you got story-wise? Mine was kind of fast today. I listened to that. I tried to do a lot of research on the Pequots, and there's not much. They were quite the big tribe back in the 1600s, but as like it said, as soon as after that one demise, they were literally wiped out, and they realized they didn't have the people to fight back. So they, took off, and their tribe got, disbanded, literally. They went to other tribes, they went west, they're trying to get out of there. They know they can't defeat the English. They got captured as slaves, shipped off to other places. More than likely, a lot of them died. Think about it. You kill 500 people of your tribe, and you only got a couple thousand or so. You're going to be hurt.
Yeah, and it depends, of those people, how many of them were braves that hunted, because women and children don't do very well in hunting.
Yeah, well, those are the numbers were given, and it could have been much more than that.
Right.
Like I said, and to burn the village, that means they burn all their food, all their weapons, all of everything.
All of their possessions.
Yeah. And now you're stuck, and what do you got? Nothing. You got nothing. And you got to start over from scratch. Your whole village, and half your people are dead, and you're going to starve. And of course, you don't just have the English as an enemy. You have the Nagasets, the Iroquois, you got, all these other tribes out there that are just surrounding you, literally, and you got nowhere to go. You go to the coast, there's English. If you go to the west, you got the Iroquois. You go to the Senecas, and then you go to the east, you got the Nagasets. The south. The south, you got the Nagasets, and that's going to be hard. So anyway, there's Lucky Stone. He says, hello, everyone. But anyhow, yeah, it must have been a, fighting and the English were new. This had been only a number of years, according to that article that we put up there. They were, the white man just came in the early 1500s to New England, or, in the 1500s. So they hadn't been there, 50, 60 years really, and small groups. And so they didn't fear him so much, and they lived in peace for quite a while.
Yep.
But, like it says here, then in 1616 and 16 through 16, that's 3 years of plague. Can you imagine? For 3 years, people are just dying off left and right. Yeah. And then of course the fur trade picks up, your tribe gets, it's starting to come back. Of course, everybody else went through the plague too. But as it goes, of course, then you got the Pequot War that starts out. It says, this one here says, that during that the Mystic Village raid, it resulted in the death of between 400 and 700 Pequots, and mostly women and children and old men, since most warriors were away on a raiding party. Many of the warriors were killed in a swamp battle, and a total of perhaps 1,500 Pequots were killed in battle or hunted down. Others were captured and distributed as slaves and household servants. A few escaped to be absorbed by the Mohawk and Ninic on the Long Island. So that's even worse, considering, there was only 2,000. It says 2,200 to 2,000 of them, and now this one's saying that 1,500 people were killed. That shrinks your tribe even more. It lives like 500-600 people, maybe 700.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Okay, well, I'm ready when you are.
Really?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
All right, so we've got a story up. And of course, there's, lots of names that's hard to pronounce. So, Hawkeye is going to do the best he can under the circumstances.
Really? And you don't get tongue-tied as much as I do.
I don't get tongue-tied as much as you do tongue-tied.
Yeah, sir. I tell you what, if words were what was it? If words had to be my character building thing, I would be failing all the time.
Or you'd be learning either way.
Yeah, I mean, I see it and I pronounce as I see it, Yeah, it's amazing. I'm a pretty good speller, but boy, when it comes to pronouncing these words, I'm a failure.
It's like your brain twists up the word. It's like your brain, I can watch you look at the word and your brain twist it up somehow. It's like, how did you get that out of that? But anyway, we love you, Robert, and we know that you do the best you can. And sometimes some words will just deadgum confound you.
The funny part is I'll listen to these podcasts on Spotify or wherever, Apple, whatever, and if I hear the word or the name of the Indian tribe or whatever, then without seeing the wording, I usually normally can say it, like the Pequots or the Nagasuts or the Powhatans or whatever, because I've heard it before many times, and then without seeing the lettering, because if I see it for the first time and I pronounce it, it's kind of stuck in my head.
Yeah, but also that I've noticed there are times if you read the word, it'll mess you up.
Yes,
it's like if you don't look at the word Pequot, you can say it, but if you look at it, you're like,
yeah, what the hell is that word? It doesn't look like Pequot. Why does it say that? Anyway. Oh yeah.
Oh, the brain is a wonderful thing. So you got our story pulled up.
You bet. Okanindo and his uncle the planter. Did I say that right?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with Oktiondo. Oktiondo. Tiondo.
Okay. Sounds good.
Oktiondo. That's how I'm gonna say it. And Hyeth was the planter, if you're looking at the characters. Hyenthwas, H-A-I-N-was. I'm hoping that, but if there's anybody out there that wants to correct me, go ahead. And the next one is Wadyo dies. And the bottom one is really simple. It's Hotho.
Hotho. Okay. Huh.
Oteando. All right. So the name of the story is Oteando and his uncle, the planter. And this is a Seneca story as we are following along over the last couple of weeks. I'm sticking with Seneca myths and stories. Here, let me get my little thing because I'm looking at it on my screen. Okay.
Okay. You know, the funny part is I tried to find some myths, and this is sad too, because I tried to find myths and tales or information in all those, I have that huge library of stuff about the Indians, right?
Right.
And yet I could not find one book about the Pequots.
Really?
Out of all those books, not one myth, not one tale about the Pequots.
Because they were gone before history really took over.
Yeah, which is pretty sad. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And of course they were all killed off pretty much. So there was nobody to pass down the tales. Yeah, sad, very sad.
All right, so here we go with the story.
Okay.
Oteando lived in the woods with his uncle, Hyenthwas. The young man lay fastened under the roots of an elm tree, which grew through his uncle's bark house. When very small, his uncle had hidden him there so nobody could carry him off. There were persons in the South who came north to steal the boys of the wampum people. One day, while the uncle was planting corn, he heard his nephew sing in a loud voice, "I am rising, I am rising." The old man dropped his planting stick and saying, "No, nephew, you are in too great a hurry." He ran home, and finding that the boy had raised his head, he pushed him back and said, "I will tell you when it's time to rise. As soon as you get up, women who float around in a canoe will come from the south and carry you away." The next day, the old man went out to plant corn. And a second time, his nephew began to sing and to try to get up. He ran home so fast that he lost his seed corn by the way. And when he came to the house, he found the tree leaning over. He put his nephew back, but the tree would not be fixed as firmly as before. On the third day, Hyenthwas went to finish his planting, but the minute he began to drop seed, he heard the song. He put his nephew back, but the tree, "I am rising, I am rising." He ran towards home, but while running, he heard an awful crash, and he knew the tree had fallen. When he reached the house, Oteando was sitting on the ground. The old man didn't go back to his planting. He stayed at home to look after his nephew. Early the next morning, they heard women singing, and soon a beautiful young woman came in, one of the wild duck sisters. She put down a basket near the old man and said, "Here is the marriage bread." And going to Oteando, she said, "I have come to take you home with me." "Very well," answered the young man, and he was starting to go when his uncle stopped him and said, "You must not go yet. You have friends coming, men whom these sisters have stolen. You must wait for them." The women went away, and the old man began to cook. He put over the fire a kettle with hominy, snow, in it. When the hominy was ready, 3 young men came in. Hyenthwas invited them to eat, and when they had eaten, he put clothing in a bundle and said to his nephew, "If your friends are in need of things, you will find them in this bundle." The young man put on snowshoes, told his friends to walk in his tracks, and they started. The three young men found that walking in Okinado's tracks was like walking on solid ground. Toward night, the young man saw smoke and going near it, found 4 fires and 4 young women. Each woman had her own fire. We will make our fires near theirs, said the young men. When the fires were burning, he went boldly up to where the 4 sisters had their fires. Over each fire, a kettle of hominy was boiling. He walked through the fires from the first one to the last and threw the kettles over. 3 of the sisters were angry, but the youngest sister laughed. Okitiando went back to his friends and said, I am going to hunt now, and he started off. Very near his fire, he saw bear tracks on a tree. He struck the tree and said, You who are in here, come out. A bear came out. He killed it and carried the meat to the camp. Then he said, I will bring my uncle's kettle. And going behind a tree, he brought back a big kettle. When the meat was cooked, the friends sat down and ate. And when all had eaten enough, Octiando said, We will go to where our wives are, but we must not take any of this meat to them. If we do, we will have bad luck. When they had come to the women, they found that they had hominy cooked and were cooling it. They sat with their backs to the men, facing the direction they were traveling in. The youngest sister, whom Octiando claimed as his wife, asked him to come and eat. The other sisters said nothing. Poto, cold, one of the 3 friends, was naked. He had a hole through his hip, and in that hole he carried a mallet. He chose the eldest of the white duck sisters. The women kept their canoe on one side of the first fire, and when they undressed, they put their clothes in the canoe. The next morning, the men went back to their fires, but one of them had lost his leggings and moccasins. His wife had stolen them. The sisters warmed up the cold hominy and ate it. After eating, they sat in their canoe and sailed away through the air. Octiando opened the bundle his uncle had given him, took out leggings and moccasins, and gave them to the man whose wife had stolen his clothes. When the men had eaten and were ready, they started off, following the canoe, the trail of which they saw in the air. Towards evening, the young man saw a smoke, and when some distance from it, he said, We will stay here. Again, he went to where the sisters were camped, walked through their fires, and spilled their hominy. Then he went back to his friends and started off to hunt for game. But this time he had to go far, for the women who had stolen the leggings and moccasins had long arms. She had stretched them out over the country, made a circle with them, and told the game to go outside that circle. Octiando had to go outside the circle too before he could find a bear. When he had the bear, he went back to camp and said to the 3 men, You have tired me of your folly. I told you not to take even one bite of our meat to those women. You disobeyed me. He got a kettle as before, cooked some of the bear meat, and they all ate heartily. Then they went over to where the women were camped. Each woman was sitting with a dish of hot hominy on her knees, cooling it. Their faces were turned in the direction in which they were traveling. The younger sister asked Octiondo to cat. The young man grew angrier and angrier, and in the night they all were asleep. He said to a great tree that stood near the canoe the woman traveled in, I want you to bend down to me. The tree bent down to him, and he fastened the canoe among its topmost branches. Then he said, I want you to stand straight. The tree stood erect. Then he said, I want you to be covered with ice. The tree was covered with ice. Octiondo did this because he was angry at the woman who had stolen the leggings and the moccasins of one of his companions and had driven the game away and made him go so far to hunt for a bear. Early the next morning, the young men went back to their own camp. When the women couldn't find their canoe, they ran around looking for it, ran for a good while. At last they saw it in the top of the tree. The eldest sister said, I will try to get it down. She spat on her hands and feet, rubbed the spittle in, and right away long nails like bear claws grew out on her fingers and toes. She began to climb, went halfway up the tree, then lost her grip and came back down, her claws scratching the ice as she slipped. Now the sisters talked together and said that Octiondo and no one else had done this. They asked him about it, and he said, I put your canoe on the tree because you made me angry. When they promised not to steal again, he told the tree to bend down. The tree bent to the ground, and Octiondo took off the canoe and gave it to the sisters, who dressed themselves, took their food out of the canoe, cooked hominy, ate it, and then sat in the canoe and continued their journey. All day, the four men followed the trail of the canoe. Towards evening, they saw a smoke in the distance, but when they drew near, they found a great lake covered with smooth ice. In the middle of the lake, the four sisters were camped. Octiondo said to his friends, we will camp on the ice too. And getting a handful of dry leaves and hemlock boughs, he said to the men, follow my steps and be sure to put your feet in my tracks. When near the sisters' camp, he said, we will camp here. He put down his handful of boughs and leaves, and it became a great pile. He said, I want a fire, and there was a fire. He scattered a handful of hemlock boughs on the other side of the fire and said, here will be our house and beds. And straightway a house of hemlock boughs covered their fire, and in the house was a place for each one of the four men to sleep. The home of the sisters was on the edge of the lake, but they camped in the middle of it on the ice to see how the men would act and what power they had. In the morning, Octiondo saw that the banks of the lake were black with people. The sisters went to their home on the land, and their mother asked, which of your husbands has the most power? They answered, Octiondo. Now Octiondo said to the three men, we will go to the women, but you must not look at the people. The four started from their camp on the ice for the shore. When they had gone a short distance, three of them heard a voice singing, we are raining bones. We are raining bones. They heard this song a second time and nearer. Then they heard a rustling noise, and a mass of dry bones swept past them on the ice. Octiondo said, one of us has looked up and he has turned to bones. At that moment, all the people on the shore disappeared, except an old woman who was walking back and forth singing, Oteando is my son-in-law. Oteando is my son-in-law. When the young man and his two friends came to the shore, the old woman went home and they followed her and went to her house. When there, she said, I will see if my daughters are getting you something to eat. You must wait here till I come back. Her house was of ice. While she was gone, Oteando took a small bundle of sticks and said, let them burn. Straight away, the pile of sticks became large, and there was a great fire. Then he said to the two men, the old woman will bring food, but you mustn't eat it. I will carry it, for it won't hurt me. I will eat it, for it won't hurt me. He made a hole in the ice, took a reed and put it through himself into the hole. The old woman came and said, son-in-law, I have brought you a little to eat. It is the rule to eat only a little after a long journey. The young man took the bark bowl and ate all the food. It ran through the reed into the ground. The food was hominy and bloodsuckers, clouds. Soon she came with a second bowl and said, I have brought more for you. This is hominy cooked with maple sugar. It was wild flint, a weed that floats on water. When the old woman's house was getting full of holes from the heat of the fire, she said, wah, my son-in-law has spoiled my house. We will go to my daughter's house. Oteando, his wife, said to him, my mother will try to kill you. She doesn't care about the other men, for she knows what power they have and that she can kill them whenever she wants to. Towards night, the old woman said, well, I think it's going to be cold tonight. I will get logs and make a great fire to keep my back warm. She brought logs from the woods and made a hot fire. Oteando's wife said, my mother will say tonight, I dreamed that my son-in-law must go hunting and kill Skadagji in the midst a bird, and he must come back before the door that he claims that he slams behind him stops shaking. If he doesn't, something bad will happen. When the night came, all lay down to sleep. In the middle of the night, the old woman began to groan terribly. She rolled out of her place and into the fire with such force that she pushed the firebrands and coals about the house. Oteando jumped up, took the corn pounder, struck her and called out, well, mother-in-law, what are you doing? The old woman sat up and said, oh, I have had a dream. I dreamt that you, my son-in-law, must kill in the midst and bring him in here before the door that you slam behind you when your go out stops trembling. If you fail to do this, something bad will happen. Go to sleep, mother-in-law, said the young man. We'll see to that in the morning. The old woman lay down again and slept. The next morning, Oteando was ready. He took hairs from his wife's head and tied them together till he had a long cord. Then he tied one end of the cord to the door, and giving the other end to his wife, told her to jerk it and keep the door trembling till he came back from shooting in the midst. Octiondo started, and before he had gone far from the house, he saw in the mist, sitting on a cloud. He let go his arrow, and the bird fell to the ground. The old woman was very angry when she saw that the door didn't stop trembling after Octiondo had slammed it going out. She pushed the door too, but her daughter kept it moving, unknown to her. When Octiondo went in and threw the bird on the ground and saying, "Here is the feast for you," she said, "Oh, my son-in-law, you must give me one of the wings for a fan. My old one is worn out." "No," said the young man, "you cannot have a wing." And he threw the bird on the fire. Otho, Octiondo's friend, hung a kettle over the fire and filled it with water. As soon as the feathers were burned off the bird, Octiondo cut it up and put the pieces in the kettle. When cooked, he took out the meat and skinned every drop of fat from the broth. "Now," said the old woman, "you must invite all the best men of the village to come and eat." "I'll invite whom I please," said Octiondo. He went out and shouted, "I invite you all, O whirlwinds, to a feast." And soon the guests began to come, one after another. When all were present, Octiondo said, "I have invited you to a feast at which everything must be consumed. You must eat the meat, drink the broth, chew up and swallow the bones." They finished everything, left neither a drop of broth nor a bit of bone. When they were through eating, they laughed and said, "The flesh of the old woman's husband made a good meal." The woman was raving. She took a pounder and struck the guest. They flew up through the smoke hole and off as fast as they could. One of them made a great rent in the side of the house as he rushed through. When she had driven the guest out and the house was clear, the old woman said, "I think the night is going to be cold. I must go for wood." She brought back wood, made a great fire, and said, "Now I will warm my back." Then she went to sleep with her back to the fire. Octiondo's wife said, "My mother will dream again tonight and will say, 'I have dreamed that my son-in-law was to kill the white beaver and bring it here before the door that he slams when he goes out stops moving. If he doesn't get back before the door stops moving, something bad will happen.'" Late in the night, the young man heard his mother-in-law groaning. She rolled around, threw the wood from its place on the fire, and scattered the coals. He jumped up, took the corn pounder, hit the old woman on the head, and said, "You must be dreaming about me, mother-in-law." "Yes, I was dreaming about you, and I'm afraid something bad may happen, but you are powerful. The dream says that my son-in-law is to kill the white beaver, and if the door that he slams behind him stops trembling, before he comes back, something bad will happen." Go to sleep, mother-in-law. That is nothing. In the morning, the young man fastened the cord made of his wife's hair to the door and told her to keep the door moving while he was gone. Then he went out, and running to a knoll where there was a butternut tree, he took a nut from the tree and hurried to the lake. He threw the nut into the water and said, "You who live in this lake, come out." The water rose up and rushed after him till it reached the knoll where the butternut tree was, and there it stopped. Octiondo saw the white beaver looking out of the water. He drew his bow, killed the beaver, seized the body, and hurried home. When he reached the door, the old woman was trying to hold it still and was repeating every word that had power to stop it. When the young man threw the beaver into the house, she said, "My son-in-law, you must make me a pouch of the skin." "Oh no, I'll do what I like with it," said he, and he threw the beaver into the fire. Hotho put on a kettle, prepared everything, and when the water was boiling, he put the beaver into the kettle and cooked it. Then the old woman said, "Son-in-law, I want you to invite all the chief men of this place to the feast." "I will invite such men as I like," said Octiondo. When the beaver was cooked, he took out the pieces of meat and cooled them. Then going outside, he called loudly, "I invite all you whirlwinds to come to a feast." They came, and when all were there, Octiondo said, "You must eat everything to the end. Here is meat, broth, and bones. You must eat all and lick the bowls." They ate the meat, swallowed the fat, and drank the broth. Then the crunching of bones could be heard. Last of all, they licked the bark bowls. When they had finished and were satisfied, they began to laugh. "Hi, hi, hi, hi," said they. "The flesh of the old woman's brother has made us a good meal." The old woman was terribly angry. She ran at them with the corn pounder and drove them out of the house. After the feast, Octiondo's wife said, "There is one more trial, the worst of all. My mother will say tonight, 'I dreamed that my son-in-law was killed and skinned, and I made a pouch of his skin.'" Octiondo said, "When she kills and skins me and puts my flesh in a bowl, take the bowl and place it on top of the house." Towards night, the old woman said, "The sky is clear. We will have a cold night. I must get logs and make a big fire." She made a great fire, and in the night began to groan and throw the logs and fire about. Octiondo jumped up, struck her on the head with the corn pounder, and said, "Mother-in-law, what is the trouble? What are you dreaming about?" "I dreamed that I killed you and made a pouch of your skin." "Go to sleep. We will see to that in the morning." The next morning, the young man said, "Now, mother-in-law, I am ready." The old woman put a large piece of bark on the ground and told him to lie on it. He lay down. She struck him on the head and killed him. Then she took off his skin, leaving his hands and feet on the skin, and cutting up the flesh, put it into a bark bowl. As soon as Octiondo's wife saw her put in the last piece of, she took the bowl and placed it on top of the house. The old woman sewed up the skin in the form of a pouch and distended it by blowing. Then she hung it over the fire and poked the fire to make it blaze. The pouch swayed to and fro over the fire, and the old woman sang, "Oh, what a nice pouch I have. No woman living has such a pouch." Each time she punched the fire, the pouch swayed more quickly to and fro. At last it began to sing, "Oh, if the wind were out of me." She poked and poked the fire, and the pouch swayed faster and faster. What a beautiful pouch I have, said she. It even sings. After a while, the pouch made a noise. Show! And went out through the smoke hole. As it went, the old woman cried, Oh, I have lost my pouch. I have lost my pouch. It has run away from me. She hurried to the door, but in going out, she met her son-in-law coming in alive and well. That night, Octiondo had a dream. He groaned and rolled around till the old woman got up and hit him with the corn pounder, saying, Wake up! I had a dream, said he. What is it? Asked the old woman. I dreamed that I must kill the ancient of bears and have a feast and invite all the people in the village. The next morning, the young man killed the ancient of bears. Poto got the kettle ready, and when the flesh of the bear was cooked, Octiondo said to his wife and the two friends who had come with him from his uncle's place, You must go out of the house. They went out, and the new company came in. The old woman and her other sisters and her other daughters and the people of the place, Octiondo said, Here is flesh, fat, and bones. You must eat all that is placed before you and clean the bowls. The chief of the people said, We have everything here before us. Now eat. Octiondo went out and ran around the house. While running, he said, Let this house become stone, and the ground under it be stone, so that the greatest wizard couldn't get out. And let the house become red hot. While the people were eating and drinking and saying, Ho, 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 this is the greatest feast, the house began to grow hot. Someone spoke up so loudly that he was heard outside and said, Let us get out of here as quickly as we can. Something is wrong. They all tried to get out but couldn't. One jumped up to where the smoke hole had been, and those outside heard him knock his head around against the solid stone and fall back. Another said, I will go out through the ground. After a while, the voices and screams inside the house died down, and all was quiet. The house cracked open. The heads of the people burst, one after another, and out of them came screech owls, horned owls, and gray and red foxes, and all rushed out of sight. The people of the old woman's village were man-eaters. The sisters sailed around everywhere in their canoe, deceiving men and luring them to that village to be devoured. All the sisters, except Octiondo's wife, were burned up with the old woman and the man-eaters. The young man and his wife went to the lakeshore where they found a great pile of bones. They gathered them up, put them under a large hickory tree, and then pushed the tree and called out, Rise up, or the tree will fall on you. At this call, the bones sprang up living men, and each man went to his own home. We will go home too, said the young man to his wife, and they went to the house of his uncle, Hayanthewas. When Octiondo went away, his uncle hung up his belt and said, The deeper you are in trouble, the nearer this belt will come to the ground. If you die, it will touch the ground. The belt had touched the ground and the old man had mourned, but now it was up again. While his nephew was away, many persons had come to the door pretending to be Octiondo and had deceived the old man. Now, when his nephew knocked, he said, "Put your arm through the hole in the door." He did so. The old man tied it there firmly, then said, "Now I have got you." And he opened the door to strike whoever was outside, but seeing Octiondo and his wife, he said, "Oh, my nephew, wait a minute till I clean up a bit." He brushed away the ashes and then he welcomed his nephew. The narrator said that this story described winter trying to delay spring.
Huh. Well, that is.
Now, isn't that an interesting story?
It is. It is. Yeah, definitely.
Now,
is.
I want to bring up something. You know, in another story that was a Seneca story,
Mhm.
and remember that the guy went around, I can't remember what the character was, but he went around and over to a tree and he struck the bones to the ground and he said, you know, if you don't move, the tree's going to land on you.
Yep.
So there seems to be a continuing theme with the Seneca myths. I just wanted to point that out because in one of the other stories, I think there were 3 times that he went around and when he got done, and there was something about man-eaters in the story too, and we didn't know why he put them all into that into the lodge and killed them all until at the end he said they were all man-eaters, so he killed them all.
Yeah, because at the end of each one, he kept saying, "Oh, this is her husband. This is her brother. This is, so yeah, it was each one. So it was a rep because when he was coming, remember, he told the guys not to look, and
Right.
they could see people, and when they looked up, it was just bones.
And it was also just an old woman singing on the beach too.
Yeah, an old woman singing on the beach.
Yeah,
too.
but they weren't really there. It was sort of it was a hologram.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It
Yeah,
was it was a hologram.
playing tricks with your mind.
But it's interesting though that even through these myths that I find it interesting, even though it's a different story told by a different person. We don't know the year that it was told. But that Seneca book is 18 something.
Yeah.
So all of the stories were old, but the fact that the bones on the ground and by a hickory tree, get up or the tree's going to fall on you. That is just an interesting, and it was a hickory tree. It wasn't some other kind of tree. So just curious as to what the hickory tree's got to do with this, what I mean?
I know. It's like these stories are talking about great magic, back in the day. Anyway, I did find that other video I made today.
Yeah.
And since there was nobody really here, I'm going to play the first one, then I'll play the second one all together. And wait a minute. Come on. So I'll play that one. And come on, shrink that, and then we'll do it again because we got a lot more people in here now than we had then. So everybody, today I was out gardening. I was getting everything ready. I'm sure some of you people who live in the southern states or other places, but for me, it's the beginning of gardening season. And here we go.
All right, I've been out here all day working really hard in the garden, and I got a lot accomplished. As you can see, I got my greenhouse all finished up. Put my plastic on, watered it. I planted radishes. I got each one of these hooked up. Getting ready to plant some some good stuff. Gardening time is here. Well, I even got a little bit of sunburn. So anyway, with that, you know, here that's a little bit. I'll show you the rest of it. Okay. Okay, here's a little bit of the garden with everything out there. Here's my my other greenhouse. I did two of them. So you got one over here, and then I got one right here. And inside here, we have nothing planted yet, but it's heating up and getting ready to go. Plus, it keeps the chickens out of the thing. And I got potatoes planted here. As you can see, the chickens have started rolling around in it. Let's go check the chickens out. Oh, there they are. And then here's my garden. Nothing is planted yet. It is it's pretty all right. Lots of gardening to do. Got to get the old rototiller out and check it out. There's a pile of rototillers ready to go. And as you can see over here, we got lots of gardening to be had. Okay.
Well, there you go. I hope everybody enjoyed that. My comic relief.
Oh my God, not one tree.
No, no trees really. No, it's lack of trees here. Yeah,
Oh my God, no trees.
yeah.
I couldn't handle it.
It took me a long time to get used to that. Yeah, it really bothered me at first. I missed the trees. Because, you know, I was a logger, a woodcutter. You know, I did that for many years, and then yeah, here I am in a place where there's no tree cutting because there's no trees. So you got a card for us tonight.
Do what?
You got a card.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, no, everybody's on me. I'm on the edge of my seat for one. Oh yeah. But anyway, that was a little bit snippet from my life. Anyway, as you can tell.
Let me be nosy. What were all those big buildings and everything in the background?
Oh, that's the industrial park. That's a couple of businesses. One's electric business, one's a pipe. They do pipe, and the other ones they're electricians, and there's a lot of companies out here, welders, and you know, construction stuff for the well sites.
Yeah, okay. So that you live on the edge of an industrial park then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I was like, what is he living in the middle of a industrial park? Not in the middle, but
kind of a dead end road, and you know, there's a few houses here, but not much. So I don't really have a whole lot of neighbors, which is nice.
I was going to say, you don't have a lot of noisy neighbors other than whatever traffic you get during the daytime.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just, you know, a lot of big trucks going by, or
you
know, the guys going and coming and going to work in the mornings and the evenings.
Yeah, get a little noisy that way. Yep.
Yeah. But
so there's an interesting stretch of cards tonight.
Uh-oh. Good deal.
And interesting, you know, which hasn't happened for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They're all pointing the same direction.
Oh.
There's usually, of 3 cards, there's one of them turned, usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this, and, you know, none of them are pointed downwards. They're all heads up.
We've been getting like the same group of cards for quite a while, like or you know, like Dragonfly comes up a lot, and you know, a few others. But you know, maybe this is a change in you know, spring's coming, the world's changing, things like that. Maybe this is a good sign.
Well, yes and no. Well, here they are. The first card up was wolf.
Ooh, we haven't had wolf in a while.
Not in a while. And then the second card up is hummingbird.
Yeah, we've had hummingbird.
It's been a while since we've had hummingbird.
Yes.
And the next one up was rabbit.
Ooh, we haven't had rabbit in a while.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't had we used to get rabbit all the time. And hummingbird popped up, and wolf, well, wolf is the teacher. Wolf, teacher, pathfinder, moondog of my soul, howling, singing, teaching me how to know. Wolf is the pathfinder, the forerunner of new ideas, who returns to the clan to teach and share medicine. Wolf takes one mate for life and is loyal like dog. If you were to keep company with wolves, you would find an enormous sense of family within the pack, as well as strong individualistic urges. These qualities make wolf very much like the human race. As humans, we also have an ability to be a part of society and yet still embody our own individual dreams and ideas. In the great star nation, wolf is represented by the dog star, Sirius, which legend tells us was the old original home of our teachers in ancient times. Remember that. And here it is again. Wolf is the teacher, and the teacher comes from the dog star in Sirius. Sirius was thought to be the home of the gods by the ancient Egyptians, and is still considered to be so by the Dogon tribe in Africa. It stands to reason that the Native American people would formulate this same connection and adopt wolf people as the clan of teachers. Now, I don't believe that last little thing about it stands to reason the American peoples would formulate this. They never talked with any of the other religions or any of the other people. So why is it natural that they would formulate this? I'm just saying. The senses of wolf are very keen, and the moon is its power ally. We're just coming out of new full moon, by the way. The moon is a symbol for psychic energy, or the unconscious that holds the secrets of knowledge and wisdom. Being of the moon may be an indication of wolf's desire to connect with the new ideas which are just below the surface of the consciousness. Wolf medicine empowers the teacher within us to come forth and aid the children of earth in understanding the great mystery of life. Now, there are a lot of folks who just don't understand it. So you can call on wolf and ask moon medicine to help you to understand it. If you have drawn wolf's card, you may be able to share your personal medicine with others. Your intuitive side may also have an answer or teaching for your personal use at this time. As you feel wolf coming alive within you, you may wish to share your knowledge. Wolf could also be telling you to seek out lonely places that will allow you to see the teacher within you. In the aloneness of a power place, devoid of other humans, you may find the true you. And and I have understood this as a hermit, if you will, that there are just some things that you just can't understand unless you spend some time alone. You can talk all about it all you want to, but until you spent time alone with your own thoughts, without anything to deceive you or interrupt you or whatever, go spend 3 or 4 days in the woods by yourself or someplace And I'm telling you, when you come back, you'll be different. You just will. So Wolf is telling you to, search for the teacher and be the teacher, actually. 44, hummingbird. Here we go. So there's a teacher, and then we have joy. So the teacher of joy, how about that one? Hummingbird is associated with the ghost shirt religion, which taught that a certain dance done properly could bring about the return of the animals and that white people would disappear. I'm so glad I'm part Native American. Once again, the original people would know the joy of the old ways. In Mayan teachings, hummingbird is connected to the black sun and the fifth world. Hummingbird can give us the medicine to solve the riddle of the contradiction of duality. Now, there are some folks out there that talk about duality all the time, and I think they're caught in a dual world personally. But the song of hummingbird awakens the medicine flowers. Hummer sings a vibration of pure joy. Flowers love hummingbird because the nectar sucking brings about the reproduction of the flowers' families. Plants flower and live because of hummingbird. Hummingbird can fly in any direction. It can hover in place and appear motionless. Great Spirit created hummingbird to be slightly different from all of the other feathered creatures, and that's just true. Because of their magical qualities, hummingbird feathers have been used for a millennium for the making of love charms. If hummingbird is your personal medicine, you love life and its joys. Your presence brings joy to others. You join people together in relationships which bring out the best in them. You know instinctively where beauty abides, and near or far, you journey to your ideal. You move comfortably within a beautiful environment and help others taste the succulent nectar of life. Hummingbird holds the bow of beauty, which is delicately inlaid and which, when quickly fired, it disdains ugliness or harshness, and it flies away from discord and disharmony. If hummingbird is flown into your cards, get ready to laugh magically and enjoy it. Hummingbird will no doubt give you a flash of the spirit, darting here and there and everywhere. Get ready for a strange new burst of energy, which may send your senses reeling. So Wolf is the teacher. Maybe it's the teacher of joy. And number 30 is Rabbit. Now, Rabbit has a tendency to like hide from things. Here we go. Rabbit is fear. So a long time ago, Rabbit had befriended a witch by the name of Eye Walker. The two were very close and spent a lot of time together. One day, Eye Walker and Rabbit were walking, and they sat down on the trail, and Rabbit said, "I'm thirsty." Eye Walker picked up a leaf and blew on it, then handed Rabbit a gourd of water. Rabbit drank the water but didn't say anything. Then Rabbit said, "I'm hungry." And Eye Walker picked up a stone and blew on it and changed it into a turnip. She gave the turnip to Rabbit to eat, and he tasted it and then ate the turnip, but still Rabbit didn't say anything. The two continued along the trail, which led to the mountains, and near the top, Rabbit tripped and fell and rolled almost to the bottom. Rabbit was in a very sad condition when Eye Walker got to him. She used a magic salve to help cure Rabbit. Rabbit didn't say anything. Several days later, Eye Walker went searching for her friend, the Rabbit. Finally, Eye Walker gave up. She met Rabbit quite by accident one day. Rabbit, why are you hiding and avoiding me? The witch asked. And Rabbit said, because I am afraid of you. I'm afraid of magic. Leave me alone, said Rabbit. I see, said Eyewalker. I have used my magical powers on your behalf, and now you turn on me and refuse my friendship. I want nothing more to do with you, said Rabbit, and hope we never meet again. And Rabbit, said Eyewalker, we were once great friends, but no more. I have the power to kill you right now, but I won't. From now on, you will call your fears, and your fears will come to you. Be on your way, for the sweet medicine that bound us together as friends are now broken. So Rabbit was cursed, but he kind of brought it on himself. Now Rabbit is the fear caller. He goes out and shouts to the eagle, Eagle, I am afraid of you. And if Eagle doesn't hear him, Rabbit calls out even louder, Eagle, stay away from me. Eagle, now hearing him, swoops down and eats him. Rabbit calls bobcats, wolves, coyote, and even snakes until they come. Here is the lesson. If you pulled Rabbit, stop talking about horrible things. Wolf might be teaching you a lesson here. Stop talking about horrible things happening and get rid of what if in your vocabulary. This card may signal a time of worry about the future or of trying to exercise your control over that which is not yet in form. So there are many folks out there who swear that the end of the world is tomorrow. And they've been telling us that for the last going on 20 years. So the world hasn't ended tomorrow. The economy has not crashed yet. All of these things that are out of your control, stop worrying about them. Those are the fears that Rabbit calls in. Oh, we're all going to die. Oh, we're all going to be hungry tomorrow. Oh, we're all going to be dead. Oh, Russia's going to bomb us all. Stop it. Quit calling those fears to you, because that is the lesson. You got to stop thinking about that kind of stuff because it wastes your energy, your time, and I spent a lot of time and energy over the years worrying about these kinds of things. So, and it was just all wasted energy. It was just all wasted, and it was negative energy and gave me an upset stomach and kept me nervous all the time. So y'all cut it out, okay? Because I know some of you out there are still worried about things. Oh, the economy. Oh, this. Oh, stop it. All right? Take care of the stuff that's right in front of you, and you'll feel a whole lot better. So Wolf is the teacher. Maybe Wolf is trying to teach you to stop worrying about some of this stuff that Rabbit just talked about, you know. And Hummingbird, bring joy into your life and quit worrying about things that you literally cannot affect the change of, you know. So with that, my friends, I think that's a pretty good message, you know. Quit worrying about stuff you just can't fix, you know.
That is true.
Bring joy into your life and keep an eye out for lessons to be learned from Wolf. That's a pretty good spread.
It is. It's a pretty good spread. Pretty good. Yep. You shouldn't worry about, you know, it's like I get all worked up. I'm one of those people. I listen to the news, I get all worked up, and then it's like, oh, you know, this is happening and that's happening, and you know, we're on the edge of the brink of the blah 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 blah, and then you walk outside, you know, oh, sun's shining, it's a beautiful day. You know, we're good. You know,
exactly.
It's like once you turn the news off, you go, oh, like today, I didn't listen to the news. I listened to music today. Today was a music day. Listen to music and, you know, less of the news, went out and garden, got my hands in the soil, working away. And it was a good thing. You know, just, and world didn't seem so bad.
And you got something done that you could say, you know, hey, look at me. You know, I got these cold frames built and I've got seeds planted, you know, and that's a good thing.
It is. It is. And I'm looking forward to maybe getting the rototiller going tomorrow and tilling up some ground, you know, and doing some other things around the house. I got a big list of things to do. Plus, I got to get ready for work. So, you know,
Yeah.
too. So I got that going on. So it's going to be a busy day. And even I was thinking about going somewhere, or maybe, but the only place I got really to go is maybe the post office. So there you go.
Well, at least you
All
don't
right.
have snow on the ground.
Oh, yeah, I am so done with snow. But yeah, I was out working and you could really tell that sun, boy, about 4 or 5 o'clock, it gets hot. I was like doing stuff and I'm like, oh man, that sunshine on my arms is burning.
Yeah.
That's really something. But anyway, just give a big shout out to everybody. Chloe is in the house. Mark the Arc Spark. And Derek Guthrie, Max G come to join us tonight. Scotty Boy, Blaney Pearl Jones. Elderberry's in the house. Alexander the Ganja Shaman is in the house too. Lucky Stone, Max Vision. But I want a big shout out to all of them. And you know, it is summer. There ain't quite as many people in the chat as usual, but you know, don't be sitting there watching us all the time. When there's good things, people to share your time with, you know, and yeah, listen some other time. But that's the thing. Yeah, it's you know, don't ditch real life for you know, YouTube. You know, go out, you know, sit around the campfire. One of my buddies was talking to me the other day, and we were talking about how stories have gotten changed over the years and everything, and you know, passed down from one to the other. And he says, I wonder how many campfires that story was told around before. And somebody wrote it down. And I'm
That's
thinking,
right.
yeah, you know, and that's probably the truth, because you know, these old stories, there was, you know, what did you do in the evening? Until there was TV or radio, you sat around the campfire or the stove or in the house and you told stories. You know, that was the thing. Hey, who's got the story to tell? Grandpa.
And down here in the South, especially, I'm sure it happened up north too, but you know, folks sat on the front porch.
Yep.
You know, they sat on the front porch and told stories. They played music. And when I first moved up here to Georgia back in 73, I guess, you know, that was one of that was still going on. Now, folks were still sitting on the front porch, you know, especially after church on Sundays. They'd go over to someone's house, normally who had a big front porch, and folks were in the house, out of the house, in the yard playing, or in our instance, they were out in the street playing handball or something like that, you know. But it was a big time for everybody, you know, just to get on the you know, to get on the porch, you know. Come on, let's go out to sit on the porch. Okay. And everybody migrated to the porch, sitting on the porch. They brought chairs out. They sat on the steps, you know. And I'm sure that, like, I talked with some folks from, you know, up around in New York City, and they all sat out on the stoops, which is the steps. They didn't have a porch per se, but they sat out on the stoops, on the steps, and so forth. And a lot of neighborhoods did that, and I guess still do. But you know, for the Southerners, it was the porch, and for folks in the city, it was the front stoop. But you know, what a place to go and tell stories. You know, that was sort of my point about that.
You know, back in the day, that is so true. I used to live in this house, and it sat off the road a little bit, and the front stoop was cement. So all day it sat in the sun, and by evening it was kind of warm. And as it got colder, you'd go outside. I didn't have TV, like, you know, I had videotapes or something, but I didn't have any regular TV stuff. So I would go in front and step, and me and my buddy would sit out there or something. Somebody would stop over. People would drive by, and it was out by the big highway that everybody used. And when they'd see me sitting out there on the stoop, and they would pull in, and I had more good conversations and chit chats with people back in the day because I sat out on that front stoop, and they would, oh, hey, you're home. And then they pull in and have a good conversation. Sometimes it'd last till dark, and you'd watch the moon come up, But yeah, great way. I miss that. I really do miss that. Met a lot of nice people that way.
Some of the old times weren't so bad.
Yeah. I tell you, yeah, just now everything's digital. Everybody stays in their house, you barely know your neighbors, kind of thing. And it's nice to meet neighbors, or it's nice to have friends. I do miss that. I used to have a big crowd of friends, and now everybody moved away, and a really small crowd of friends.
Yep. I used to have on Sundays, of course, I had jugs of wine, and you couldn't buy beer back then.
Mm-hmm.
So folks would come to have a glass of wine on Sunday when they couldn't buy beer, or
Mm-hmm.
couldn't drive to Tallahassee to get it. But we had big cookouts. It was nothing to get 10 pounds of chicken and put it on the grill along with hamburgers and hot dogs and whatever else we had, and big, huge bowls of tater salad and all kinds of other stuff, and we'd all sit around on the weekend on a Sunday and have a fire and play some music and chit chat and just have a good time. And nobody ever fought with anybody. Once in a while, there'd be an argument, usually between spouses, but we would separate them and ask them to go to their neutral corners. But those things, the friends that I had back then that used to come out, a lot of them are dead now, but like you say, that group of friends has gotten very small, or they're not able to drive now, or something else has happened. But the fact that, in talking with actually two of the physical therapists that came to help me out, we're talking about how even in their lifetime, and they're in their mid-40s, how they've seen a change and how they wish that groups would get together. And they'd go, well, I remember my mom and daddy on Sundays, there'd be all sorts of folks that come out to the house. And it was like, now you got to beg folks to come, and back in the day, folks would just show up,
Well, nowadays it seems like there's always things to do, or people don't want to go out, and this or that going on, and it costs more money. They got to work more to support the household. Jobs aren't Monday through Friday. Now they're any day of the week, and
and one of
you
the
got
other
off weird times.
And one of the other things, I visited somebody before I went in the hospital, and every one of them had a cell phone. And while I'm sitting in their house, I got a cell phone, but it's for phone usage. Send the odd picture. But every single, there were 4 people in the house besides me, and they all had their nose in their cell phone. And they were playing a game or doing a thing, and they go, oh, they talk. But, I was like sitting there looking at them all, and I don't do that sort of thing. And besides that, my screen's cracked, but I don't play games and do all that stuff. I just don't do it. And so here I am, wanting to talk with these folks and have conversation, and they all got their nose to, each one of them got their own private cell phone to go play and I was just like, well, okie dokie. And these are older folks, not the younger folks. I mean, you'd think teenagers, but these folks are way past teenage stages. So whatever has happened with the cell phone doesn't just have the young folk, but it's got a lot of older folk too. Just can't get their heads out of it.
Well,
and it's just a shame.
Need to learn to put it down. You know,
Use it, don't let it use you. And if
And-
you're playing games and you don't know why, it's using you.
yes, yes, yeah, it's one of those things, you know, we're being duped into a lot of stuff, and it's not always good. I've realized after reading a bunch of these books and stuff about hypnotism and magnetism and, you know, all these different things, people's minds can be manipulated really easy.
Yes.
You know, it's like we got two eyes, two ears, and all of that. Either way, even if we close our eyes, our ears can program us. Our eyes can program us. You know, I mean, you see something or you hear something, and then, oh my gosh, you know, you get into panic mode, or you get into loving mode, or you get into whatever, you know, mode you're going to get turned into, or, oh, I heard this on, I had that phone on it. Next thing you know, I feel like I need to buy one of those things. You know, I gotta go to town and buy that. It's gonna make me happy. No, that's just good advertising. And you were watching and you've been programmed. You really don't need that item.
And you
How's
don't
it go-
really know that it's happened to you.
No, you
Because
don't.
it's subconscious. And here's one of the things that has bothered me for a while now. All of these free games.
Mm,
Now they spend they have to be spending millions of dollars on advertising, because national advertising costs millions of dollars. So there's millions of dollars worth of advertising to get you to play a free game. Now you gotta, if people aren't asking themselves, why is this free? Why are they giving it to me? What's the catch?
mm,
If you were at a carny or at a you know, at a state fair, and somebody came up and tried to sell you something for free, you'd be, oh, gee whiz, I don't know about that, mister, you know. But folks are, ooh, look, another free game. But why? And why are they spending millions of dollars to get you to play it? You should stop and think about that. Now, I don't have any proof, but folks can't keep their eyes out of their cell phone
well,
because of the new games. So
yeah.
my curiosity is, are they giving away these free games so that you won't pay attention to what's going on around you? That
Well,
would be one thing.
I'll tell you why they give you the free games.
Go ahead.
They give you the free games because when you get that free game, you give them permission to get into your pictures, your addresses, your contacts, all of that stuff. And then that game, that pop in the bubbles game, or whatever it may be, we'll just say it's the pop in the bubble game. And every time you're on, that it not only gives you the game, but it goes into your phone and searches out all your search history, all your information, everything you've been doing, and then it sends that back, because it's a two-way street. You're getting the game and it's taking all your information, and then they sell that information to all these companies, to everybody. Oh, this guy, he looked up, you know, lollipops, and this guy, and then he went over and he looked up new sports coats. Then he wanted a pair of boots. And next thing you know, you're looking on there and you're going, wow, I'm getting all these advertisements for boots and sports coats and deals, and, you know, and then they're saying, oh, and then look at all the friends he has. Maybe they want boots and sport coats and things like that. Now we're going to send them information too. And then the list goes on and on. Oh, where did he go? He had his GPS on, and we can tell what stores he was shopping at, and we'll sell that information to those stores so they can advertise specifically to him or her. You see what I'm saying?
Or to those groups.
Yeah, and they make thousands and thousands of dollars on people because, you know, there's companies out there that want to buy that information. You got the information on where that guy shops? Great, we'll buy it, you know?
Well, I'm also more of a conspiracy nut in that I know what flashing lights can do. And I know what the, because they use lights to flashing and things to create epileptic fits and so forth,
Yep.
and trigger things within people.
Mhm.
So we know that flashing lights do this to the brain, and we know that it will affect the subconscious. So you've got all these little flashing lights and bells and whistles in your little cell phone. So now they don't have to wait for you to go on a TV and maybe get it to your, now you can carry around a device that they can get to you anytime they want.
Yep.
And so there are folks that I know, God bless them, I love them to death, but they'll be sitting there and then all of a sudden they don't know why, but they got to turn on their phone and play this game.
Yep.
And I asked my friend while we were sitting at the doctor's office, can you like put that game down? Well, I just like playing it. Yeah, but you were just sitting there and we were having conversation, and then just all of a sudden out of the blue, you just like I gotta play my game.
Well,
now, I'm just curious myself, where did that subconscious thought come from when we're having a conversation and I don't think you're bored because you're talking to the people, but all of a sudden you got to pull that phone out and play that game right now.
I got the answer to that. I got the answer to that too. Okay. You smoke?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're fine. All of a sudden it comes to an urge where you whip out that cigarette, right?
Yeah, but that's a nicotine physical addiction.
Okay,
But I would agree with you that subconsciously they are addicted.
No. Wait a minute. That's what I'm getting at. You're addicted to it. Second part, This is the second part of this. They make those games with the flashy lights, which triggers a dopamine response in the brain. And which is an addiction, like an adrenaline rush.
Right.
And when that runs out, they crave that game like you crave your cigarette. And that's why they pick it up. Oh my God, they don't know it. Oh, I gotta get the game out. I gotta play. And then they get that rush and then they can put it down. Okay, I played the game. I'm good again. I read about this with Facebook. That they geared Facebook for likes and people chiming in and things like that, because people would post pictures and things like that, and people would give them thumbs up and smiley faces, and every time that person would log in for something, oh look, my friends, they gave me thumbs up, they gave me a smiley face, they chimed in, oh boy, and you get a dopamine rush for that. They did scientific research on this stuff, and that's why people couldn't put it down. That's why they post stupid pictures like, look at the food I'm eating. They're just literally running out of things to post. So now they're posting their food,
And reposting somebody else's food.
Yeah, exactly. Let's repost somebody else's stuff, and and then I got to check back in. I got to check it 10 times a day. Ooh, I got to play that game. And literally you're right. Those flashing lights are giving you that rush. And the more you play it, the more rush you get. And then to get off of it is like a drug addiction.
Yep.
And they have all this stuff figured out. They know ahead of time, like, what was it? Steve Jobs, he said, they asked him, well, what kind of phone do your kids have? And he said, oh, I ain't giving a phone to my kids. They're like, what? You ain't giving a phone to your kids? Oh, my goodness.
Who, me?
Yeah, you're the richest man around, and you got children, and oh, they don't get a phone. But you are the guy with the phone company, right? Oh yeah, no, they ain't get a phone. Yeah. Because he knows, he knows that it's not good. So that's the thing, people. Put the phone down, get unaddicted, use it for calling. Maybe send a text message once in a while. Don't sit there and play those games. Those games steal your information. They steal your friends' information through your information. And then they give you a dopamine rush and you're addicted like a drug. Who
And it
thought
steals
that
your
this?
time.
Yes.
You
yes,
get
it
nothing
does.
out of it.
Exactly.
You receive nothing out of playing the game for however long you play it. The only thing you get is the dopamine effect.
Yes.
But as
yes.
far as you getting anything else out of it, you've wasted the time when you could have been reading something or learning something or making your time more productive. I mean,
Mhm.
okay, so you were bored, but do you have to play the game? Is my point to these folks. Read something, learn something. You get something out of your time. If you're just playing a game for 2 hours, you got nothing to show for it. If you
Nothing.
read articles or get online and read a book or something like that, you have gained knowledge. You have not wasted your time. So the internet is not bad. Cell phones are not bad in and of themselves. It's how you use the dang things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Popping bubbles for hours. I watched a guy at work do that once. He'd come in every day and sit down and pop bubbles. And I says, what's the point of the game? He just it's just to pop bubbles. I'm like, and do you win? No, just pop with bubbles.
And aren't you bored after 20 minutes or 10 minutes or like 5 minutes? I'm like, okay, something else, but other people just, are they mindless? My curiosity would be.
Well, like I said, I suppose it's that dopamine rush, whatever. Lucky Stone says, the physical addiction of nicotine lasts 2 to 3 days. The worst part of nicotine addiction is the psychological part. So yes, social media and nicotine are very similar addiction. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm so glad I kicked the Facebook habit years ago. People still ask me, well, how come you don't have Facebook? Oh, I got it. I just don't use it. Well, why not? Well, because of all the addiction and all of that, spend hours, going looking down through stuff. And at the end of it, I've learned that Joe Schmo has got a new puppy, and that Lisa, what's her name, has got something. Her and her, they went out and I got a picture of their sandwich now, and yeah, But I have learned that certain people have passed away, now somebody else is in the hospital. So Facebook still has its good points, I guess, to let folks know how somebody else is doing or something like that. But there's too many people who rely on Facebook. Somebody called me the other day and said, well, David, don't you know about this? And I said, no. And they said, but it was on Facebook. And I went, so? Yeah, but it was all over Facebook. And I was like, so I don't use Facebook. Oh my God, you mean you don't? I don't even know what it was, but it was some kind of thing. And I was like, oh, but it was all everybody was talking about on Facebook. So that was the only place you could, well, you just called me on the phone and told me about it. That's more personal contact rather than finding it on Facebook, but I digress.
Yeah.
So anyway, we thank you all for tuning in with us tonight. I'm going to segue us out of here.
Yeah, you're going to have a show tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I'm had coffee and I got still a bunch of coffee left in there, and I'm gonna have to drink it. So I guess that means I'm going to do a live stream if the computer will. We've been having issues out here for some reason. So
well, tonight you did pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't see any lagging or anything. They gave me a warning early on that my connection was weak, but I haven't seen another warning since we logged on. So that's good.
That is good. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Dear friends, we love you all for coming and hanging out with us. And for there, if I got to go let Duggar out, he's going to chew up the house.
Absolutely. Remember, everybody, go out, be the frequency you want to receive. We love you all. See you next time.
Cheers,
peace, everybody. There we go. Another